So the Democratic Party, the party that incites violence behind every podium they stand behind, is surprised when violence happens. What a shocker! Here comes the pew pew control, virtue signaling. Here comes the thoughts and prayers. Here comes the Republicans don't care that babies are being unalived. You know, all of it, right? It's just a wash, rinse, repeat, like clockwork. You see, they spent all week talking about how we don't need the National Guard. We got violence under control. Here comes the Republicans trying to take all our rights. Meanwhile, they have no problem trying to come for your two-way rights, right? Your Second Amendment rights, right? These people, man, are so pathetic, yo. They all over X right now saying this is what happens when we don't have pew-pew control. But nothing about, like, you guys spending majority of the of your conference demonizing this administration and their crime crackdown. Can't make this up, folks.
Yeah, you literally can't make it up. You cannot make it up. Now, before we get into it, I do want to say, you know, rest in peace, and my condolences go out to, you know, the families affected by this tragedy. You know, you don't expect something like that, right? You don't want to expect something like that, right? With kids, you know, absolutely tragic. What a coward! What a weak, pathetic coward shooting. I mean, like, doing that to kids, bro. Kids, really? Like, how pathetic and weak do you have to be in order to attack children? People who can't defend themselves. Absolutely disgusting. But let's get into this Jesse Waters clip, man, because he goes in.
Suicidal transgender who hates Trump's Christians and Jews shoots up kids at a Catholic school, and the media wants to take away your handgun. So how are we supposed to protect ourselves from trans shooters? The media is bad at pattern recognition. We aren't. Just 2 years ago, another trans 20-something walked into a Christian school in Nashville with a rifle and shot 3 kids and 3 adults. They buried the manifesto and locked down the case. We've seen trans shootings in Colorado and in Maryland. They even shot up an ICE facility in Texas. And it seems like half of Antifa's trans. A couple of they-thems just got popped for firebombing Teslas. The mayor of Minneapolis says, you can't say that.
Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids.
I don't hate anyone who thinks they're trans. I feel sorry for them. But statistically, the trans population has been prone to violence. That's not villainizing, that's reality. And if you can't recognize reality, you're in danger. We love the American people, especially American children. And if they're troubled and believe they're somehow a girl trapped in a boy's body, we want to get them help. We don't want to give them hormones and operate on them. Society shouldn't be trying to produce more trans kids. We shouldn't be encouraging an emotional disorder or whatever this is. And doctors should stop profiting from it. Great Britain ended child sex change surgeries. They said it's barbaric, and they're right. And politicians should stop elevating the trans issue like it's the civil rights struggle of the 21st century. You see it all over Minneapolis.
Minneapolis will continue to be a safe haven for our trans community.
For being a safe haven for transgender individuals.
We have sued them for gender-affirming care. Yes, we are not going to scapegoat our transgender community.
When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them.
So when your 9-year-old tells you he's a horse, do you let him sleep out in the barn and eat hay? What are we doing here? Just a few years ago, the psychiatric community classified transgenderism as a mental illness. Then doctors went woke and removed it as a condition, and now millions of young Americans are identifying themselves as trans and getting high fives. When someone has an illness, we should treat it instead of affirm it. We don't celebrate schizophrenia. We don't encourage depression. Teenagers are confused. Sometimes these things are just a phase. And if they're not, all right, then a grown man can wear a dress. If he wants to do that in America, he has that right. We're a pretty darn tolerant society. But the left's weaponizing trans kids and turning them into culture warriors. And they've been turned loose against the church, schools, and Trump. You see it, I see it. The trans Klan has a militant wing, and it's out for blood. They're taking lives, defiling churches, and freaking everybody out. And some politicians are doing more to protect shooters like Westman than soft targets like schools. In 2023, private schools in Minnesota begged Governor Walz to fund more school safety. They told him it was an urgent and critical need. Minnesota had an $18 billion budget surplus, but the governor didn't do it. Instead, he turned Minnesota into a trans sanctuary. And his attorney general, Keith Ellison, sued Trump so they can keep castrating little boys. Tim Walz failed. Our leaders keep failing us. They failed us during COVID, on trade, on immigration. They say they care about kids, but they locked them down and oversaw an obesity and chronic disease epidemic. And now there's a growing trans epidemic, and they won't even admit it. Just like crime. They created a crisis and then lie about it and blame you for not being compassionate. But their fake compassion is getting people killed.
Well said. Well said. Man, watching that mother cry there, man, sheesh. That was rough. That was rough. No parent should have to bury their children. No parent. That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And to watch the mayor come out and say that, it's just like, what? You care more. You care more about the trans than you do the Christian little kids that were put 6 feet in the dirt. Man, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I hope that, listen, and I know I've said this before, but they just keep on proving me right. I hope the Democrat Party never wins again. Ever. Now, I know that's not realistic, but at this point, I hope they never win again. Never win a major election again. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I haven't even gotten on the when the mayor said enough of the thoughts and the prayers and whatever else. I forgot what he said. Let me see if I can find that clip. Because it was just absolutely disgusting what this man said about Christians praying. Wouldn't say that about any other religion, mind you. Wouldn't say that about a single other religion. Where's the clip at? No, these are all...
There are no words that can capture the horror and the evil of this unspeakable act. Children are dead. There are families that have a deceased child. You cannot put into words the gravity, the tragedy, or the absolute pain of this situation. We are a Minneapolis family. But to everybody out there, do not think of these as just somebody else's kids. Those families are suffering immense pain right now. Think of this as if it were your own. Every one of us needs to be wrapping our arms around these families, giving them every ounce that we can muster. These were Minneapolis families. These were American families. And the amount of pain that they are suffering right now is extraordinary. And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church.
Yeah. And why did it happen in your city? Who was the shooter? Why was he so radicalized? Bet you don't want to ask those questions, do you? Oh man. And of course, you know, all of the clips of, you know, the writings that were written all over his guns were they're all over online. I think he had a YouTube channel, right? I think YouTube actually took his channel down. So, I mean, if YouTube took it down, I'm not going to repost it for obvious reasons, you know. What a shame, though. What a shame. To defend the shooter and not the children. But then also, you know, because mind you, the children were Christians. But then also to say what you said about the thoughts and prayers. What a slap in the face, man. What a slap in the face. Absolutely disgusting. There's so much that I want to say, but I'm going to keep it PG, all right? I'm going to keep it PG. Part of me didn't even want to make this video because I could say a lot more, a whole lot more. But I'm going to leave it at that, man. Y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions about this. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.